Welcome back to the Pleb Underground, everyone. I am your host, Coin Icarus. I hope that you all had a great weekend. That's right. We are going to talk about the 4-year cycle because, as you know, right, that's it. It's over, right? Bitcoin has won this whole 4-year cycle invention that was, that was meant to keep NGU on its path. It's no longer needed. It's time to retire. It's time to retire this horse. All right, it's time for the glue factory. Or is it? Or is it just a bunch of FUD that influencers are using to kind of just keep everybody roped along? When was the first time we ever heard that the 4-year cycle was over? Right? When was that? Was that last cycle? Was that back in 2017? Anyways, we're going to take a look at this. We're also going to take a look at some comments made by what's his name, Matt Hugin, the CIO of Bitwise, who obviously, right, as you all know, Bitwise has a Bitcoin ETF. It also has a whole bunch of not a bunch of shitcoin ETFs, but it also has an Ethereum ETF as well. And of course, right, as a person who works for a company that sells these products, of course, they don't want you to leave the show. Right? They don't want you to leave while they're just starting. So, of course, this 4-year cycle's over, and we're just about to go on the biggest, massive 8-year bull run, right? Like everybody's telling you. Well, not everybody, but like the big Bitcoin cheerleaders, right? Trillions of dollars is flowing into Bitcoin, right? All the money in the world is just flowing right into Bitcoin, right? It's nothing that can stop us. Nothing at all. And of course, right? I love Bitcoin. So I want all these things to be true. But at the same time, I don't want to get wrecked. And part of not getting wrecked is making sure that you don't always fall for these ridiculous hopium narratives, okay? And keeping yourself in check doesn't mean that you're not bullish enough. It just means that you are going to hopefully not wreck yourself by buying into all of this hype. And I can tell you that, back in 2017, I did buy into all of this hype, right? There was a lot of Bitcoin only accounts, right, that were saying 50K. Okay, when we crossed 19,900 something, every single one of them was like, that's it. These cycles are over. Bitcoin's taking off. We're going to 50K within 6 months. We're going to be at 100K. Guys, this was 2017. Okay, 8 years ago. We didn't see any of that shit. None of it. None of it. And if you went and put all of your hopes and dreams and all your desires into what these people were telling you, you most likely sold at the bottom thinking we were going to go 2-0, thinking it was all over. Okay? But if you stayed solvent and you stacked and you didn't over leverage yourself and you didn't buy into all of this BS, you lived. You lived to stack another day and you got to enjoy the benefits of accruing all of this Bitcoin as a savings technology. Okay, anyways, all right, done with my little intro rant. We're going to take a look at this video, but guys, before we take a look at the video, you know the deal. Got to give some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor, Archimedes Emporium. We will be right back. 20 seconds, guys. Here we go. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. They make absolutely beautiful Bitcoin branded products. They just dropped their first one. It is the solid aluminum Bitcoin clock. I had to get my hands on it so that I could show it to you guys. Take a look. Really, really nice piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Head on over to archamp.co. The link is going to be in the show notes. That is Archimedes Emporium. Head on over there. Okay. All right. Now let's go take a look at some of these. Actually, first we'll start with the video. Let's dive into that. So this is who's this again? Matt Hugin. Yeah, Matt Hugin, the CIO of Bitwise. And just remember, he loves Bitcoin. It's always important to remember that, right? Anytime somebody's talking to you, just always keep that in the back of your head. He loves Bitcoin.
4-year cycle. Is it over?
Yeah.
Woo.
It's over.
Okay, hold on. Explain.
Well, I mean, so my view of the
I've got some stuff to sell, so it's over.
4-year cycle is you have a catalyst that brings new pools of capital in. So 2011, it was the launch of Coinbase. Retail investors could buy Bitcoin, new capital, then leverage builds up and eventually it pops. 2015, the introduction of Ethereum. 2019, DeFi. 2023, it was
Interestingly enough, though, in 2015, we didn't actually end up seeing any of that behavior until like about late 2017, 2018. So I don't know about that one.
Grayscale winning its lawsuit in March against the SEC. We're going to get ETFs bringing in capital. The reason I think it's probably not going to play out over 4 years is I think that's a longer inflow of capital than retail hot ball of money, which was the past 3. And then secondly, we have yet another of those catalysts in November, which is the election completely changing the game in terms of institutional adoption. So even if the ETF-driven cycle would have built up, leveraged, and popped and receded, we have this second tidal wave that's just so much bigger than that first one. It's going to overwhelm it. So will there be, pullbacks? We're seeing one now as leverage comes out of the system, of course. But the election was such a sea change that it's like, it doesn't matter. Yes, there may be this natural thing, but it's just going to get bulldozed over.
I'm sorry, but we're sitting at over 100K. What is he talking about? A pullback? What pullback is this? What is this? It's really sad, right? Because a lot of these guys, right, they're obviously, more educated than I am when it comes to, when it comes to, investments, finances, and all of that stuff, and that's perfectly fine. But they buy their own bullshit. Like that's kind of the problem, right? They know so much, right? He's so knowledgeable. Like there's not a chance that he's not buying his own bullshit.
That doesn't mean we've repealed pullbacks, but I think this cycle is going to be much longer than people think. I definitely don't think this pullback is the end. I think 2025 will be a great.
Nobody thought this pullback was the end. Okay. If you thought that this, and I can't believe we're calling this fucking pullback. Oh God. Serenity now, insanity later. Guys, we're sitting over 100K. Okay. Anyways, not a pullback.
Year. I think 2026 will be a great year. I think 2027 will be a great year. And we'll see about 2028.
Yeah. Okay. So he's just totally redefined, right? The way that this has all been working, right? He's just decided, right? They've got these new products. It's fantastic. They're trying to sell you on their crap. So, hey, this thing's going to last forever, at least long enough for us to get our money out. But where did this really start, right? This is what got me wondering, when did we actually start to see this narrative about the 4-year cycle, right? And if we take a look, right, this actually kind of goes back to 2021, right? So we started to see stuff like this. Bitcoin's 4-year halving cycle may be dead. This one back from 2021, Bitcoin Magazine, an ode and forthcoming obituary to Bitcoin's 4-year cycle. Now, in that previous cycle, if you bought into this narrative, you may have sold the bottom at 15K. You may have sold that bottom. So, yeah, that's not good at all. Yeah, not too fun. But let's also take a look at what Miles Ducher had to say. I apologize if I got that last name wrong. Multiple fundamental shifts are happening, right? Waning supply side triggers unprecedented institutional demand. Guys, if this isn't going to keep you thinking that we are going to like $1 million in the next year and a half, I don't know what will. And then my favorite part about this is we're entering the new paradigm. I love new paradigms. New paradigms are obviously a lot better than old paradigms, right? So look, guys, all I'm hearing, right, from everything I just explained, all of this stuff, what my takeaway is, this time it's different, okay? This time it's different. This time, the institutions, right? When Bitcoin starts to crater, right, which like every single investment, like every single type of speculative vehicle, even though I personally don't think it's speculative, the general public thinks it's speculative. When we start to see that behavior, then obviously you start to see the number go down and it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's all. And then at some point, okay, when sentiment gets to be the lowest, we reach a bottom. Okay? That's all there is to it. Now, timing the 4-year cycle, right, is obviously very difficult. And it does have to do with, in my eyes, it has to do with human psychology, because quite often, when you're in the thick of it, right? Like when you're sitting there, and I do remember this, when we were sitting in the last cycle at 69K, I I mean, I was sure that we were going to go to 100, right? All the cheerleaders around me said we were going to go to 100. I did not expect a double top. And then for us to pull back to 15,500. Granted, I did expect that we were going to eventually go down, because in the back of my head, I am paying attention to this 4-year cycle, which interestingly enough doesn't only have to do with Bitcoin, right? Like, as cheesy as it sounds, right? We've got 4 seasons. At the same time, there's also in meditation, there's something called the fourfold breath, right? And then on top of that, you've got the 4 elements. So this whole idea of fours, it's not like it's not some hokey thing that just came out of Bitcoin. Okay, this is prevalent throughout humanity and throughout culture. So yeah, it's, to me, it's got nothing to necessarily do with Bitcoin. It has much more to do with human psychology. Okay, the cycle of booms and busts. Okay, everybody gets really excited, and everybody thinks that you can never go back down, right? Especially when you start seeing like these, some of these price levels. Start seeing like the 110Ks and stuff like that. You're like, man, we can never go back to 70. And we can never go back to 80. And believe me, I don't think we're going to go back to those levels anytime soon. Okay. And one can even make an argument that we'll never see those prices ever again, unless there's some type of like a massive worldwide, calamitous event, right? Like, even like we saw like COVID, like, believe it or not, I know, that's a very touchy topic, but that dip was a freaking miracle for some of us. Okay. For those of us that were stacking as hard as we could, that COVID dip was just, I couldn't buy enough Bitcoin at that time. I was like, I can't believe this is happening, and if you think for a second that these types of events aren't going to happen again in the future, you're very much mistaken. Okay. And the last piece, I guess, I want to say to this, right, is that essentially I'm paying attention to the people that are telling me that this cycle is definitely over. Okay, that the 4-year Bitcoin cycles are over. I just, what I'm seeing are people that are attempting to sell me a product. That's what it is. They are attempting to sell me a product, and that product is the never-ending parade of Bitcoin companies and Bitcoin adjacent products that are going to be coming out onto the market, and that are just going to keep this going. Guys, what I'm saying is, there is nothing wrong with paying attention to this stuff. There is nothing wrong with seeing this information, looking at it objectively. Okay. The tragedy occurs when you decide that what, this, specific person is telling you the narrative is absolutely true. Okay, that the 4-year cycle is over, and now we're just going to go into this straight up bull run for the next who knows how many years, because takes a look at the gold ETF and decides we're going to do the same thing. That is the stuff that gets people wrecked. Okay, and the personal story that I wanted to say in this was, in 2017, 2018, in that run, okay, I was paying attention to the cheerleaders, right? The Tales from the Crypts and all of these people, and they were saying, that's it. Like, we just hit 19K, like, that's it. This thing is going to 50. This is what I told you guys at the beginning of the stream. And I was a buyer of that hopium. Okay. I really was. I was totally like, these guys must know better than me, right? They've been in Bitcoin longer than me. So this is also a way of telling you, like, don't necessarily listen to me either, right? Like, I'm not 100% right. What I'm telling you is not just that I am not 100% right, but those people also aren't 100% right and have absolutely no predictive capabilities as to what Bitcoin's going to do. And this is why, right? Cheesy messaging like staying solvent, right? Understanding what your expenditures are, making sure you live within your means so that you can continue to stack Bitcoin. It is a savings technology. That was the other thing, right? The narrative changed. The whole entire time, it was Bitcoin was a savings technology. This is where you store your savings, where you store your melting ice cube, right? Michael Saylor, I've got this melting ice cube. I got to save my money. Now, all of a sudden, it's an investment, right? That's it. Savings technology out the window. In comes investment. And what do we see? We see these dog shit companies, right? Coming to Bitcoin and saying, hey, we're going to buy Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, a company that does not produce operating cash flow or revenues is cheered for not having a viable business, but yet tricking shareholders into buying Bitcoin. Guys, this cycle is not different. I'm really sorry. Okay? Just don't get wrecked by the hopium cheerleaders. That's all. Anyways, guys, that's it for the rant today. That's all I wanted to talk about. I will catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Peace. Don't get wrecked by the hopium cheerleaders, okay? You're going to be really sorry. It sucks. I know, because I got wrecked psychologically by the hopium cheerleaders, but I was able to unwreck myself. So there you go.